Hello and welcome to this 43rd episode of 5 Minutes with NY Ike. I am Isaac Sacolick, or NY Ike on Twitter. Now, we hear a lot of language around agile mindsets and agile culture, and I thought I'd use this episode to demystify a little bit of what the characteristics and behavior that go into an agile mindset. Let's get started. Now, I use a lot of different words to describe an agile mindset, and for this episode, I'm going to describe 5 of them, starting with a customer mindset. Even going back 20 years ago, when the first agile teams came together writing user stories on a card, we wrote them in the language of a user. As a specific user, here's the goal and why we're making this a priority. Okay, everything that we do in Agile needs to have that customer mindset. Why we're doing something, who is the customer, how are they benefiting, whether you're working on a feature or improving performance or addressing a security issue or working on some marketing or even documentation. We want to know who the user is, why it's important for them, why we're prioritizing it, and what value we're trying to bring them. So first and foremost, an Agile mindset is always putting the customer mindset very front and center in terms of what we're working. Second is around self-organizing teams, and nothing brings that to bear than what we do in sprint planning when teams come together and they decide of how much in the backlog they can commit to and get done during the sprint despite all the obstacles, right? No matter what we do with acceptance criteria and how much planning we can do up front, there's always unknowns and things that come up during the sprint that we can't always anticipate. And we don't expect our teams to hit 100% of their commitment every single sprint, but we want to know that they are committed when they come in and they're going to try to get as much of it done as they can, that they're going to work through their blocks, that they're going to be trustworthy when it comes to providing estimates. And those are just some of the aspects of a self-organizing team and how they operate in trying to solution and make sure that they can deliver what they committed to, not just for the sprint, but also getting into releases. Now, that's one of the major behavior changes that I see teams, particularly teams going from waterfall to agile. The other area is around keeping things simple, and I like to say it's not keep it simple stupid. As the acronym goes, I say keep it simple and smart, and that means really thinking through multiple solutions and finding the things that are easiest for us to implement. It makes me think of some of these cookbooks that come out there. 3 simple ingredients can drive a dish and make you a nice lunch or a dinner, and that's how I want Agile teams to think about their requirements. Let's find simple ways to deliver simple things, put them in front of users, get feedback, and then adjust our priorities and add to our requirements as necessary. So 2 things that really change the mindset is when teams are committing, and number 2, when our product owners and stakeholders are really thinking about MVPs and keeping things simple. Now, in here, we have to define what it means for teams to actually deliver on quality. And we do this with acceptance criteria, but it goes a little bit more than that. When I think about an agile mindset, it's finding this safe area in between what we would describe as unsafe, something that's not secure, maybe fails security standards or has frequent outages. And as much as we try to really deliver with excellence with everything that we're doing, from features to performance, we're trying to have high customer satisfaction. We're trying to have a really strong user experience. We want to get some buzz around our PR, but we have to pick and choose where in our development that's really going to happen. We can't hit A marks in everything that we're doing. And so we define this characteristic called release ready. And what this basically means is we know it's not perfection. We're not aiming for that. We're aiming most of their time for something that meets some basic criteria. And you could see some of them here. Some of them are defined at the story level, like acceptance criteria. Some of them are at the macro level around usability, around compliance and regulation. And then we have a whole bunch of language that really defines what release ready means. It means a team actually knows up front that they believe that their release is ready to go in front of users, and that we're not trying to be perfect, but we're also not trying to allow us to put something unsafe, unreliable, insecure in front of our customers. And lastly, I really do think about the spectrum of operating between a startup that's truly trying to be self-organizing in everything that they're doing, and an enterprise that typically has a lot of things locked down, a lot of very stringent ways of doing things, a lot of procedures. And in the middle is where I think most organizations have to strive for, which is coming up with some standards, largely letting teams being self-organized, but just like in the last picture when we talked about quality, coming up with standards, how you're documenting things, how are you testing things, what types of work we're prioritizing. These are all things that should go into a very lightweight set of standards that teams use to be able to prioritize and actually define how they're delivering their work. So these are 5 different areas that go into what is an agile mindset. And I'm going to share with you a little bit more that what goes into it as well. Now, if you read my blog, that's blogs.starcio.com, or watch my other videos on the 5 Minutes with NY Ike channel, I always talk about continuous agile planning. These are 4 different areas that go into it, from planning roadmaps to standards to delivering reliable releases, and of course having happy and winning teams. But there are 2 things down at the bottom that I don't always talk about. They are around agile principles and the agile operating model, and these are at the heart of defining an agile mindset. I describe these in my courses that you can find more about at guides.starcio.com and at my workshops. But to get started on this, I would suggest visiting starcio.com/agile-roadmaps. Sign up for my newsletter. You'll also get a copy of my white paper around continuous agile planning. And then I'll be able to tell you more about defining principles, operating model, and defining your agile mindset. Thanks again for tuning into this episode of 5 Minutes with NY Ike. Please subscribe to our channel. We do about 2 episodes every single month, and I hope to see you in future episodes. Have a great day.